Have you ever seen a scenario like this? The sniper kills the Humvee, the SWAT team comes up to rescue the female hostage, but the hostage tries to struggle away from the police to rejoin the Humvee's accomplice, and the Commander General releases them, but unfortunately it's too late. The World Bank in Los Angeles, police sirens were lowing, helicopters were hovering, snipers held on the opposite penthouse aimed at the kidnappers, dozens of police cars and hundreds of police officers surrounded the bank. The bandit leader Gabriel was calm, walking back to the bank from the cafe like a leisurely stroll, but none of the police dared to move, because there were 22 hostages inside the bank. They were strapped with 10 kilograms of explosives and hundreds of steel balls, and Gabriel's purpose is the $9.5 billion inside the bank. There was a bandit in a suit with the hostages to show the media and police the explosives on their bodies. The FBI and the local police argued. The FBI advocated peace talks to free the hostages. The local police intend to attack, not leaving the opportunity to criminals. When they were still arguing, a sniper shot down the suit bandit. The police rushed up to save the hostage, but the hostage even tried to break away, to return to the bank. Thus occurred the classic scene at the beginning of the film. The story has to be told 96 hours ago. Stanley is the top hacker in the United States, 2 years ago because he was uncomfortable with the CIA monitoring the public's email invasion of privacy. So he hacked into the intelligence agency's servers, but also to a format, in exchange for Stanley's 2 years in prison, but also banned from access to computers for life, so he also lost custody of his daughter, who was living with the scum mother and bad stepfather. Making enough money to take his daughter away as soon as possible was the only thing Stanley wanted to do at that time. The opportunity came when a woman arrived in a sports car. The woman's name is Ginger, saying that his boss, Gabriel, has learned that Stanley is the top hacker and wants to ask him to help, finishing by throwing in $100,000, which is just a deposit. The final payment is 100 times more than what is here. Inside the bar, Stanley met Gabriel, that is a gentle and elegant businessman. He asked his men to hand over a computer to Stanley within 60 seconds to crack this 128-bit password. Just want to refuse, the pistol was on the head. Gabriel began to count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The board buckled. It turned out to be an empty gun. Gabriel laughed madly. Just kidding. Stanley reversed the computer, which showed that the crack was complete. Back at Gabriel's villa, the study has long been set up inside a dedicated line, as well as the most advanced hardware equipment of the day. Stanley's task is to invade a set of 512-bit system called Energizer. After understanding the task, Stanley missed his daughter and made a special trip to school to pick up the little cottontail, and sent her back to his ex-wife's house after school. On the road, the daughter again complained about her mother and stepfather. As a father, hearing such words, he felt very bad. He needed to finish the work of the Gabriel as soon as possible, get the money, and then go away with his daughter. Stanley obviously didn't get Gabriel's background. Gabriel is a former Special Forces soldier, outwardly appears to be gentle and elegant businessman, but in fact, he is fierce and daring, means of poisonous. He is an extreme patriot. He and the state legislator were always together, plotting to form a private army, specifically against those hostile terrorists. Simply put, it's violence against violence. Stanley has just returned to the villa and overheard Ginger changing her clothes, and she surprisingly has an eavesdropper on her. Under repeated questioning, Ginger only revealed that she was a spy planted here by the police. When he wanted to communicate further, Gabriel came back and called Staley out. The two went to a roadside cafe, then Gabriel revealed the whole plan. In the 80s, the Drug Enforcement Administration set up a company to handle the drug money collected back, codenamed Operation Swordfish. Little did we know that the company was making money, with accounts accumulating to $9.5 billion today, which has been sleeping in the cafe across from the World Bank. Stanley realized the purpose of Gabriel, and Stanley's job is to break through the bank's firewall and transfer this dormant money out. Stanley himself was the subject of FBI surveillance, and after he came to Los Angeles, he had been watched by the police for his whereabouts, which incidentally exposed Gabriel. When the senator learned that it was being watched by the FBI, he contacted Gabriel and asked that the Swordfish operation be stopped in time, but Gabriel refused the senator's order. On Stanley's side, after many simulations and attempts, he finally found a way to crack the system. In order to celebrate, he came to the wine warehouse to find a bottle of wine to celebrate, inadvertently saw the dead body of Gabriel, but just turned around and saw Gabriel again, and he also said to take him out for a ride. On the road, Gabriel talked about the magician's blindfold. Behind them, suddenly surrounded by several black boxcar to fire at them. Gabriel handed the steering wheel to Stanley, directly took out an MG4 machine gun, 850 bullets per minute rate of fire to shoot the boxcar directly into a sieve. When they examined the killer's body, they found that it was actually the senator's plan. It was clear to Gabriel that the senator had decided to cut off the root of the problem. In that case, Gabriel decided to take a revenge. While the senator was still enjoying his fishing vacation by the river, Gabriel arrived with his men in a helicopter, and he was accusing the senator of abandoning his ideals and betraying his comrades. After saying that he pulled the trigger and sent the senator to see President Lincoln, Stanley handed over the formula for breaching the firewall to Gabriel, and Gabriel kept his promise by transferring $10 million in an anonymous Swiss bank account. They arrived at a warehouse that contained armored vehicles in addition to heavy firearms and weapons. Stanley at first thought that Gabriel just acted secretly, but now it is clear that Gabriel wanted to hold an armed robbery. Gabriel also asked Stanley to participate in the operation together tomorrow. "I'm gonna write a program for you, but no robbing banks." Stanley took the opportunity to unplug the power and ran out. Gabriel was very calm and told his men not to chase him, saying he would be back. Where would Stanley go? Of course, to find his daughter. At his ex-wife's home, he only saw the bodies of the ex-wife and her husband, and his daughter was missing. Where is she? It's no need to ask. Stanley had to go back to find Gabriel. At this point, a Hummer crashed through the glass into the World Bank. Heavily armed mercenaries quickly control the scene. 22 hostages strapped with 10 kilograms of explosives and hundreds of steel balls, plus an electromagnetic coil. As long as the hostages leave the bank range, will automatically detonate. In the confrontation between the police and the bandits, the police misjudged the situation, resulting in the death of one hostage by explosion. That is the opening scene of the movie. Gabriel asked the police to have a plane ready at the airport within 25 minutes, and they would take the hostage to the airport on a bus when they were done. Now that people were killed, the police did not want to make more trouble and had to comply. By this time, Stanley also returned to the scene. After confirming that his daughter was safe, Gabriel wanted Stanley to breach the firewall and transfer the $9.5 billion. The firewall was breached in a flash, and the $9.5 billion was dispersed to different accounts in different countries around the world as Gabriel had requested. The job was done. Stanley left with his daughter, and before he reached the door, his men found that Stanley had moved the money back the way it came. In desperation, Stanley pushed his daughter out the door, and his daughter was then safely rescued by SWAT, while he himself once again fell into the hands of Gabriel. Gabriel was set up and became enraged. Stanley was emboldened. "You kill me and I'll make sure you won't get a penny of the money." Stanley offered to release all the hostages on condition that he would help unlock the program to take the $9.5 billion without incident. Gabriel thought for a moment, did not agree to Stanley's conditions, but let his men take Ginger out and hanged with an anklet, then said faintly, "You better unlock the code before she die." Looking at the situation, Stanley had no choice but to unlock the code and transfer the $9.5 billion back. Seeing that the money had arrived, Gabriel called for the anklet to be dropped, followed by a shot to finish off Ginger. Stanley was horrified, but there was nothing he could do. Then Gabriel escorted the hostages, Stanley, and others onto a bus at the gate and headed straight for the airport, with the men also bringing the unused rocket launcher with them. Under the escort of police cars, the convoy marched towards the airport. The police have long laid a heavy ambush at the airport, just waiting for the safety of the hostages to catch the bad guys in a net. The police learned of Gabriel's escape plan to lay an ambush at the airport. But suddenly, the sound of engines came from the sky. An Ericsson S-64 transport helicopter appeared. The helicopter soon directly suspended the bus, flying in a different direction. The FBI and the police were dumbfounded. No one expected they can escape from the air. But as the helicopter hanging the bus didn't fly for long before it hit a building, two of the ropes suspending the bus broke, and one of Gabriel's men and a hostage fell down. The destination is the rooftop of a building, where a helicopter has long been prepared for the transfer. Gabriel disarmed the hostage's bomb device and took his men to leave. Seeing that the bad guys were going to escape, Stanley remembered that there was a rocket launcher in the back of the car, and without saying a word, he took it and shot it at the helicopter that Gabriel had just taken off. With the sound of the explosion, Gabriel and his men were all destroyed and killed. The next day, the police called Stanley to identify the body, and although the body was badly burned, it did look a lot like Gabriel. That's when a police officer came to report that they can't find Ginger's body and the police have no information on this undercover agent. It dawned on Stanley that Gabriel was not on the helicopter at all. It was a trick. He had already gone down the stairs. The body in front of him was just a prepared double. Although Stanley figured out everything, but he did not tell the police what he found, because he also gained a huge fortune and has since lived a peaceful and comfortable life with his daughter. Monte Carlo, Monaco. Ginger arranged the flow of $9.5 billion, and then came to the river to meet with Gabriel. Next, several terrorist organizations around the world have suffered unknown attacks. The movie ends perfectly here. If you like the movie, please subscribe to watch more.